All right, so today we are taking a deep dive into what it really means to be a pacifist.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and we've got this really cool mini personality test from the Spiritual Seek that we're going to use to kind of guide our conversation today.
I like that. A little interactive.
Yeah, exactly. So it has 6 statements, and all you have to do is decide whether you agree or disagree with each one. Sounds simple enough, right?
Well, we'll see about that. Pacifism is a lot more nuanced than people think.
Oh, for sure. And that's what's so great about this test. It really forces you to think about those gray areas. Like, can you always stand with victims, even when it's not clear who the victim is?
Yeah. Or like, is it always possible to have a dialogue, even with someone who is, committed acts of violence?
It's tough stuff.
It is. And, there aren't any easy answers, but that's kind of the whole point. It's not about labeling yourself, but more about sparking some deeper reflection.
Exactly. So should we jump right into the first statement?
Let's do it.
All right, here it is. When you are right, you must not make compromises.
Ooh, that's a good one right out of the gate.
I know, right? It seems a bit, well, almost the opposite of what we usually think about when we talk about pacifism, doesn't it?
Definitely. I mean, we typically associate pacifism with being like open to dialogue, trying to find common ground. Compromise seems like a pretty key part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think this statement is trying to get at then?
I think it's pointing out that sometimes, even when we feel super strongly about something, even when we're sure we're right, being inflexible can actually be detrimental. Like holding on to that I'm right, you're wrong mentality can shut down any chance of real understanding or progress.
So true pacifism means being willing to bend a little, to meet the other person halfway.
Yes, exactly. And it doesn't mean abandoning your principles, right? It's about being creative, about finding solutions that actually address everyone's needs, not just your own.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's move on to statement number 2.
All right, hit me.
Here it is. If only women were in power, there would be no wars. Thoughts?
Ooh, that one's a bit loaded, isn't it?
It is, right. I mean, at first glance, it's tempting to agree because we often associate women with being more nurturing peacemakers, right?
Right.
But, I mean, history shows us it's not that simple.
Definitely not. That statement is a major oversimplification, like attributing the complexities of war to just one gender. And I mean, there's tons of examples of powerful female leaders throughout history who, haven't exactly shied away from conflict.
Totally. Queen Elizabeth I, Cleopatra, you name it. They were just as capable of waging war as any male ruler.
Exactly. I think this statement just shows us that pacifism isn't about gender. It's a conscious choice and a commitment.
Okay, I'm ready for the next one.
Bring it on.
All right, this one is a tough one. When an enemy attacks, the use of weapons is justified.
Oof. That one goes straight to the heart of things, doesn't it?
It really does. Like, how do you balance that core value of nonviolence with protecting yourself or even others when you're under attack?
It's like this impossible choice, right? Do you stay true to your pacifist beliefs even when facing violence? Or do you defend yourself even if it means using force?
That is the question.
Yeah, and there's no easy answer to that one. There are different schools of thought, even within pacifism itself, with some people believing in absolute nonviolence no matter what, and others who advocate for, like, nonviolent resistance as a form of self-defense.
So even within pacifism, there's a whole spectrum of beliefs and ethical dilemmas to consider.
Wow. Okay, let's move on to statement 4.
All right, let's hear it.
The true pacifist always stands on the side of the victims. What do you think about that one?
I mean, that definitely aligns with the whole idea of empathy, right? Wanting to support and stand with those who are hurting. But I think it also pushes us to think about, just how messy and complex conflicts really are.
Totally. Because it's rarely as simple as, like, good guys and bad guys, right?
Conflict comes from, like, all these historical and social factors, different perspectives, multiple narratives. It's rarely clear-cut. So it's not always easy to determine who's the victim and who's the perpetrator.
Yeah, and that's where the real challenge of pacifism comes in. It's about acknowledging the suffering of victims while also trying to understand everyone involved,
Even the people we might see as, like, the bad guys.
Exactly. It's about recognizing everyone's humanity.
Okay, ready for statement number 5?
Hit me.
Here it is. You cannot dialogue with someone who acts like a terrorist. This one is a lot.
Yeah, that one hits hard, doesn't it? Like, how can you even think about sitting down and talking to someone who's caused so much pain and suffering?
It feels almost, I don't know, disrespectful to the victims, like we're minimizing their pain or something.
It does.
Right. But at the same time, isn't dialogue kind of at the core of what pacifism is all about?
It is, and I think that's what makes this statement so challenging. It forces us to confront that tension, that conflict between our desire for justice and our commitment to dialogue.
It's like, do you hold on to that anger and the need for retribution, or do you choose to believe that even in this situation, dialogue could be the key to breaking the cycle of violence?
It's about recognizing that even those who commit acts of terror are human beings. It's not about condoning their actions, but about understanding what might have led them down that path.
And hopefully, maybe through dialogue, you can actually work towards real and lasting solutions.
Right. It's about believing in the power of communication to transform, even in the most difficult situations.
Yeah. Okay, on to the last statement.
Let's do it.
All right. There are good people and bad people. I'm with the good people. What do you think?
This one feels like a trap, doesn't it?
It does.
Like it's playing into that really dangerous tendency we have to oversimplify things, to see the world in black and white. And I think pacifism really challenges us to resist that.
Exactly. It's like we're all capable of both good and bad, right?
Absolutely. And I think, the us versus them mentality is a huge part of what fuels conflict in the first place.
So true. So instead of labeling people as good or bad, it's about trying to understand the complexity of their actions.
Yes, 100%. Pacifism isn't about judgment. It's about understanding, about recognizing the humanity in everyone.
So that was all 6 statements. A lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think it's important to remember this test isn't about assigning labels, but about starting a conversation. What parts resonated with you? Which ones did you struggle with?
It's all about reflecting, and maybe, just maybe, figuring out how you can apply these ideas to your own life, to the conflicts you see in the world around you.
Because in today's world, understanding pacifism and all its, messiness and complexity, it's more important than ever.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in learning more, the Spiritual Seek and a bunch of other organizations have tons of resources on this. Definitely worth checking out.
Definitely.